In today's video, I want to show you some of our past best-selling products and more importantly, why I think they sold well. And not just show you some random items. Showing you a random project claiming I made $5,000 last week cutting up a couple 2x4s doesn't really help anyone. And honestly, them videos always kind of annoy me because it makes woodworking seem like this get-rich-quick scheme. For someone who's been woodworking professionally for 10 years, let me tell you, it is not. And if you treat it that way, you're probably just gonna waste a lot of time and money. So instead, I'm gonna show you products that we used to sell a ton of and why I think they actually worked. So in short, this video isn't about some magic item that's gonna fly off the shelves and make you rich. It's more about understanding why things actually sell instead of chasing some holy grail item. And remember, just because you think it's cool doesn't mean anyone's gonna buy it. You simply have to find what works, double down, and keep moving. You could come up with 10 items and only 2 of them actually sell. Rinse and repeat. So let's get into it. The first item on the list is Ottoman trays. We sold a ton of these, mostly square, and I'd say roughly 75% of them were customized in some way. And I actually have one here. So this is what most of them look like. This one here's been sitting in the shop for a few years. I don't know if I spelt the name wrong or what. I was gonna fix it and put like an inlay over it or something, but it just never happened. But this is where the first key takeaway comes in, customization. The CNC really allowed us to add custom names and logos and stuff like that with relative ease, and that just gives you that much more incentive for the customer to buy your item.
For customization, we had a few set designs customers could choose from, and add their name to it and or an established date. When we first started making them, they were mostly made out of pine, stained, and then I would spray on a poly finish. And honestly, those sold really well right away. We did eventually transition into hardwoods like walnut, cherry, and maple for a more premium product. But that honestly took longer than I expected because the cheaper pine versions just moved faster. The main reason I wanted to switch wasn't even the wood, it was the process. Staining takes time, it's messy, you gotta have rags, it adds cost, and then you have to wait for it to dry. With hardwood, I could skip all that and just spray on a finish. And that's the constant game. How do I make this more efficient? The pine indeed cost less, but it ended up being more labor, so in the end it essentially equaled out, but I could sell the hardwood items for more of a premium. They were also more durable.
I forgot to measure it. 0.87.
And while we were pumping out these square trays, I kept getting asked, can I get a round version? And for a long time, the answer was no. Because it was a lot harder than people think. You can't just take a thick piece of wood and hog out the center. It wastes a ton of material and takes forever to machine. And you're probably gonna end up with a ton of warping. So I had to rethink the design completely. And once I figured that out, they actually became easier to make than the square trays. At the time, and possibly still, there really weren't many people offering round trays. I think there was one other person that was selling them on Etsy, so not only was it a better product than my last, I had less competition too. And here we're making a 24-inch round tray, and I'm assembling the ring with dominoes, but you could easily use doubles, which would probably have less of a chance of them getting hit by the CNC, which you'll see what I mean in a minute. I actually used to make my own dominoes out of the wood I used to create the tray, so if I would hit it, it would match and it wouldn't be as obvious. And what's also nice about these round trays is they used all the same shipping materials as the square ones. And Ottoman trays work because they actually solve a problem. Most Ottomans aren't usable as a surface, so this turns it into a table. But it's not just functional, it also acts as a decor piece, and it's easy to store under a couch or in a closet.
Whoa.
And then you add customization on top of that, and now it becomes a really easy gift. So you've got function, decor, personalization all in one, and that's why these sold well and still probably would. And this was the tricky part, getting it to realign on the CNC and route out the middle to give it a nice easy transition so it's not just this weird blocky ring. But after a few tries, it became pretty easy, and then I used a 3/4 inch bull bit to blend those two together nicely. I would start one pass and cancel it before it finishes, and then I would do a quick measure to make sure everything was aligned properly. And at this stage, before I pull it off the CNC, I would then add the customization, family name, or whatever the customer wanted. Then I would always err on the side of not deep enough, and then typically run one more pass just to get a nice even transition, and it gives it that nice round over look. Then finish it off with a 3/8 round over on the bottom to complete the look, and we're pretty much done.
And here is the finished product, a beautiful cherry tray. And then to finish it off, I would add a couple coats of Osmo, between 2 to 3, depending how much the tray soaked up. And it gives you a nice, beautiful, natural finish with a nice little sheen on it. And the next item on the list, pet feeders. And these were, I believe, our first item to really take off for us.
And it makes sense why they sold well. A ton of people have dogs. and people love to spend money on their pets and our kids. I'm cheap when it comes to buying things for myself, but when it comes to our dogs, that's a completely different story. My wife has an entire drawer full of dog hoodies. Yeah, you heard me right. Have you ever seen a pitty in a hoodie? Perfection. And it gets cold in Wisconsin. Don't judge.
Approximately 3 Uggas is perfect torque.
And these feeders were relatively easy to build and sold really well. We offered multiple sizes, usually 4, but did offer custom, and we mostly sold them on Etsy. One of the ways we stood out was with custom name plaques, which was super simple to do, especially with the CNC, but it added a personal touch. And that's what people actually care about. It wasn't just a feeder, it was their dog's feeder. At the time, farmhouse was huge, so most of our designs kind of leaned that way with some more modern options mixed in. Even now, to this day, we still get people reaching out asking for new plaques or another feeder. But at this point, it just doesn't fit in how we run our business anymore, so it's kind of a wrench in the operation. Another thing we did that worked really well, we offered sizes other people didn't. Most sellers stuck with small, medium, and large. We added an extra small and extra large. Also, extra small worked for cats as well. Why? Again, because people ask for it. Listen to the customer.
So some of you might be wondering why we don't just cut this as one whole piece versus separate pieces. So if you were to cut it like this as just a whole piece, this grain direction you can see runs this way. But if that grain direction ran this way on these legs, they'd be a lot easier to snap. But if we were to cut it in one whole piece, you can see the grain direction would run that way on the legs. So let me show you the strength difference. This piece is also bigger and a little bit thicker. This piece itself probably isn't all that strong either, just because that knot goes through there, but we'll see. Strong enough. Now we have this larger piece where you can see the grain clearly runs that way. So I really didn't even hit it that hard, and you can see it broke. So it's just be cautious of grain direction. If you were shipping these, I can almost guarantee your legs would snap just because the shippers are very rough on packages, whether it's FedEx or UPS. I would rather take the extra time to glue this up to make a much stronger product.
And listening to the customer is the big takeaway. Pay attention to what customers are telling you, because that's usually where your next product or upgrade comes from. Now, the reason we stopped selling these wasn't because they didn't sell well. They really did. It came down to shipping. And what I just mentioned about the wood breaking. They just didn't ship all that well. And at the same time, we started transitioning more into trays and clocks because they were flat, easier to ship, and we could use the same boxes. And the pet feeders just didn't ship nearly as well. They were more prone to damage, usually small stuff, but it meant dealing with claims, replacements, and fixing issues for customers. And at the time, I was also offering painted bases since farmhouse was big. Dropping these meant I didn't have to deal with spraying paint in the shop anymore. So again, it wasn't about the product not working, it was about efficiency, shipping, and simplifying the process. These feeders literally paid for the shop we work in today. It's hard to move on from a great selling product, but you have to evolve into products that are easier to streamline and have better margins. I still think these are great products and they're easy to produce. I would simply look online for popular dining tables and coffee tables and pretty much make a small dog version of that. We live in a rural, non-wealthy area, so we chose to sell online to reach a broader audience. Most of this stuff is going to be different if you want to sell high-end furniture or something like cabinets. Completely different operations. With our path, we had to learn how to ship and protect items. And one of the things that were prone to breaking on the pet feeders were these tops, because there's not a whole lot of wood in between the area of the bowls, and when it gets tossed around on the truck or XYZ, they'd like to split. So I always made sure that the tops were removable. So if something did happen, I could simply send the customer a new top versus having to remake them an entire new feeder. And with this modern design here I came up with for this video, I used dominoes and 2 little set screws to hold the top on. Back then I used Z-clips, which were also fast and easy to use. I was just playing around and trying something different, and I think it turned out pretty well.
And here's the pet feeder I came up with for this video. Nice modern design. Most of the furniture in my house is modern that I made, so this will just flow with it nicely. I'm keeping this one for myself, and as I mentioned earlier, here's a plaque we would make for the customization that would just screw to here, or I would just hang it with chain or twine. This one I cut a little too big, but I'll just hang this in the shop. Back then I would spray a finish on these. This one I just used a couple coats of Osmo, and I think it turned out really well. For the files, I'll offer a small, medium, large for this. All right, and on to the next one. Clocks. Honestly, these were one of our best sellers and one of the items we held on to the longest when we stopped selling on Etsy completely. This is a CNC design I came up with towards the later stages of us selling clocks. This is made out of white oak, I believe, and I think we had 2 or 3 designs that I had a CNC type texture on here. And most of the other ones we sold were pine, which I actually have one there. And this is what most of our designs used to look like. They were just MDF numbers glued on pine. I'd paint them, stain them, and they sold very well. We never really sold any this small. I don't even remember this clock. We probably just made this to take pictures of it, and everyone just wanted giant clocks, so that's what we leaned into. And we have a couple of these small ones just throughout the house, and this one's just in the shop that probably hasn't had a new battery in 2 years.
Clocks are a statement piece in a home, so people are willing to spend more on them. And again, customization played a big role. We do things like family names or a big initial in the center. I would make the clock blanks and Jess would handle the painting, adding the numbers and finishing touches. And as I mentioned, we made them initially out of pine and the numbers were MDF and they got painted, but that got old fast. Sanding and painting MDF sucks. So we eventually moved into natural hardwoods, and not only was it easier, it looked better, and it just felt like a more premium product. We also focused on making a better product than what was already out there. But more importantly, we found and filled a lot of gaps, which in this case was large clocks. There were people selling clocks, but not many offering bigger sizes, typically ending around 30 inches. And the ones that did offer large sizes weren't shipping them efficiently, adding high cost in that department. We figured out a way to break them down so we could ship them cheaper and easier, and the customers could easily assemble them. So now we had a better looking product, larger sizes, that was also easier to ship than everyone else. I think the biggest ones we sold were around 60 inches. I didn't sell many of those, but we did sell a few. But those clocks were closer to $1,000 plus. We sold a ton of 48-inch clocks, and most of them were about 30 to 36-inch range for, I would say, the average size. So the takeaway here, you either solve a problem or offer something people can't easily find. Because if we're just making a basic product, like a cutting board stand, you're competing with everyone. And the big reason these clocks worked, they're a statement piece, so people are willing to spend more. I believe most of these large clocks went on like fireplace mantles and stuff like that. I don't know where in the world you're putting a 60-inch clock, but people wanted them. We filled the gap for larger sizes, and we solved the shipping problem, which gave us a huge advantage over our competition. And for this video, I wanted to come up with another clock design. Jess gave me a path that was a modern sunburst, and my goal was to take that idea and make a large clock that would ship well. This is what we came up with. I may end up expanding on it, adding some brass or something on the center face, but as of now, I really like the simplicity of it. It kind of makes me want to design and sell clocks again, just to break up the monotony of cutting board madness. Ooh. After holding it onto the wall, I realized it needed to be elevated from the wall. This also results in a cool shadow effect from the arms. And then to finish it off, it's held onto the wall with a keyhole.
And here's the finished clock we came up with for this video. Modern sunburst. So I don't like the hands. I just didn't have any hands like tape. I wanted these hands, but smaller. I just didn't have any. And then I would go ahead and just spray paint them gold or like a brass color. So these hands here are just temporary, but it's super simple. All these arms come off, and this is 42 inches, I believe, and it would ship super easy. I also added a little bit of walnut sap here. I think it really adds to it. And I just used Osmo on this, just a wipe-on finish. But this would be very easy to expand on, and I think it turned out really cool. Okay, and this next segment is not exactly about a product, but more so an add-on. For instance, I mentioned these. These were a great add-on and upsell, an extra $20 per feeder. Same thing with these. I make a lot of cutting boards now. That's mainly what we make and make videos. But for the cutting boards, great add-on. This board's a mess up. I had a machine error, so that's why it's not finished. But these cutting board stands come apart super easy, very easy upsell.
Right now, we mostly sell cutting boards, and one of the easiest add-ons for those is something like a cutting board stand, a juice groove, or handholds. Same thing with pet feeders. Easy upcharges for those were the name plaques, custom sizes, upgraded glass bowls, and honestly, most people added it. It's a simple upgrade, but it makes the product feel personal. For the cutting board stands, they're really easy to make, and we charge an extra 25 bucks and they still fit in the same box. So there's no extra shipping, no extra hassle. It just makes sense. And that's something you should always think about. No matter what you sell, there's always an opportunity to add something on. So the takeaway here is pretty straightforward. Add-ons are huge. There's always easy upsells for most products. They usually don't add any extra shipping, and most of the time people just simply say yes. It could be as easy as soft close hinges on furniture, a better finish, add their name to it, a cutting board refinishing kit. Selling cutting boards? Add a utensil pack for a discount if they buy it with the cutting board. You just gotta be creative and listen to the customer.
Now on to the final segment. I kind of threw this one in there as like an extra just because I knew some people would be quite upset if they knew I was gonna throw away these little cutouts. So I figured I would make use of them. I've actually had this design made for a while, I just haven't had the opportunity to test it out. And when I was cutting this out and I saw these circles, I was like, these are perfect. So I came up with these cute little plant stands. I made them completely out of scraps, and if you were making a bunch of these pet feeders, you could really crank these out. And as far as selling something like this, I've made plant stands and planters with the 3D printers in the past, and usually they're just kind of not worth it, just because they usually take more time and hassle than they are really worth to ship.
Even if they are made from scraps, you still have the time, packaging, and fees. And these are going for like 40 to 60 bucks, and it's kind of just meh. What I would do instead is save up these rounds. If things slow down, you can batch a bunch out in a single day. But if you're busy, your time is better spent elsewhere. Where this could work is if you're selling locally and doing craft fairs. You can sell them relatively cheap if you don't got to worry about shipping or fees, and just simply use them as something to get people into your booth and get a business card in their hands. Me personally, I'm not someone who likes to sell at craft fairs, but I've had people tell me they do this with smaller items like book buddies, and it works. People come in for a cheap item and end up buying something bigger later. I can't tell you how many times this has happened. They buy something small or cheap from me, and then you have that rapport and trust, and they come back. I sold a pet feeder to someone. Several months later, I sold them a farmhouse dining table that was what I believe was several $1,000s at the time. So just because it isn't a high dollar item doesn't mean it's not always worth it. It just depends how you use it.
Woodworking is not for the weak. If you're looking to make a ton of money like some of these videos claim, this probably just isn't it. If you're looking to make real money in woodworking, it usually comes down to a couple paths. It's either usually high-end furniture, custom cabinets, built-ins, or mass-producing products. We went with mass-producing products. And anything outside of that, it's really tough. And that's the main reason we moved away from Etsy. Between the competition, ads, all the fees, it just becomes hard to make any real money. And it's also okay just to do woodworking as a hobby. Just make some things and sell them here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of people start to see CNCs and just think they're easy money. Again, they're not. You have to learn how to run it, buy bits. It's a whole operation. But if you're into woodworking and want to do something like this, I highly recommend getting a CNC, as a CNC really evolved how we did woodworking and customized products. Now, can you make money doing this? Absolutely. People do it every day. I've been doing it for the last 10 years. But there's way easier, less stressful ways to make money if that's your only goal. This is a game of love. You really need to enjoy what you're doing and enjoy the process if you want to make woodworking your life. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all you guys watching these videos. It takes a lot longer than you think to make these videos, so every time you watch it and like the videos and buy our files and do all that stuff, it helps us out a ton. I'll have files available for these items on our website. You can find a link down in the description. I'm also open to recommendations for videos you'd like to see me make. I like doing these project videos. They just take me a little while. I also plan on doing some furniture builds coming up soon here. And again, I'm always making cutting boards, so those will also be part of the process. So thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.